Hi friends, we're going to make a video today. This is for you boys and girls out there. We're going to go over how to change your own oil in your car or truck, and this is going to save you money and time in the long run. Because number one, you're not going to have to pay to have it done. Number two, you're going to save all that time of dropping your car off somewhere and then going back later and picking it up, and they might have it all day, you know, and usually they screw it up anyway and steal all the change out of your ashtray. So alright, first we're going to go over a couple of things you're going to need. You might want to put on some like safety glasses or safety goggles. You're going to want like gloves. Some latex gloves would do just fine, but if you had like some work gloves, you might want to use those. In the long run, changing the oil on a steady basis, like in my truck I do it every 3,000 miles. I have 77,000 miles on the truck right now, and it doesn't burn a drop of oil. And I use natural oil in my truck, regular dinosaur oil, out of the ground. If you were using a synthetic or a synthetic blend, you might indeed be able to increase the mileage in between oil changes to, let's say, like a synthetic, like 6,000 or 7,000 miles, or a blend, you might want to change it every 5,000 miles. But I find the regular dinosaur oil is pretty inexpensive compared to the synthetics, and I don't mind changing it myself, so I'm a every 3,000 mile kind of person. So you're gonna want like a piece of scrap wood or a piece of cardboard, scrap cardboard, to put under so you don't spill any oil on your driveway. You're gonna need a wrench to get the oil plug out. In this case, it's a 15 millimeter, and you're gonna find on most of the modern cars and trucks that the engine and stuff is metric tool, so 15 millimeter in my case. But if you had an adjustable wrench, it would be just fine. You might want a jack, a floor jack, or some kind of scissor jack, as well as a sturdy jack stand, because you're never ever going to crawl under a car or truck that is supported by only a jack. You're going to want to use a jack stand and place it securely and properly before you get under it. But God forbid anything happens, windy day, the jack's not set up right, and the car falls down, you're going to be crushed under there. You read about it in the paper every once in a while. Some guy got crushed under his car. It's because he was changing the oil just using a jack and not a jack stand. And even a big hydraulic floor jacks, they fail all the time too. So, you know, support your car or truck securely. In my case right here, I have a pickup truck, so I'm a small guy, I can squeeze under it without a jack or jack stand, so that's perfectly fine. You're not going to get crushed, something like that. You're going to want a couple of rags or paper towels. In this case, it's an old pair of drawers, you know. You're going to want some kind of basin to catch the old oil in, and this is like an old kitty litter tray, a cat tray or something like that. But any kind of plastic container, such as you know, something like this kind of container, or a sheetrock bucket cut down, one of those orange Home Depot buckets, you could cut it down. Anything to catch the oil in. You would also want some kind of solvent. In this case, I'll be using some of this carburetor cleaner, but you could use like brake cleaner. You could, as long as you're not using like gasoline. I mean, you could use it, but I'm not recommending it just because it's flammable. But some kind of solvent is going to help. Also going to want your replacement oil filter, which you're going to go to the auto parts store and you're going to ask the counter guy. Tell them the year and model of your car. Maybe bring the registration in with you, because sometimes they want to see the VIN number, and you could just hand them the registration and they'll give you the correct oil filter and they'll give you the correct oil. In this case, we're using a 5W30. And let's get under the truck, or at least let's get over by the truck and go over a couple of more things. Then we're going to get right under it. It's going to be a quick video, and you're going to be like an expert in changing your own oil within like 5 minutes. Okay, let's go, YouTube. I have found over the years the best way to change the oil is with a warm engine. So you're either going to want to take a ride and do some errands and come back and change the oil right away, or you're going to want to at least start the engine up and let it idle a few minutes to warm up. because warm engine oil is going to flow out a lot better and take out most of the sediments in the bottom of the oil pan compared to ice cold motor oil, which is just going to like take forever to drain out. We're going to take a piece of paper and a pencil. We're going to turn the key like to the on position, and we're going to observe the actual mileage on the odometer. 72,508. We're going to write that down. We're going to take that little piece of paper and we're going to attach it to the inside of your windshield with a piece of Scotch tape so that you know when you last changed the oil, and you're going to know when the next oil change interval should come. So here I got a piece of Scotch tape. Now I'm just going to take this. This is my spot. You may have your own spots, but my spot is up in the top corner of the windshield. I'm sorry, it's a sunny day, but you see the last one was 69,245. I'm actually like 300 miles short, but it's a really nice day. So this is the day I chose to change my oil, and that's the latest oil change interval. It's up there, not going to forget it. Easy to look at and check if it pops into your mind. Geez, I got to change my oil, and you flip up your visor and you know. So, all right, we took care of that inside the car stuff. The next thing we're going to do in here is just pop the hood. And we're going to go outside. I'm going to show you something real quick, a little tip if you have any questions about what kind of oil you should be using in your car or truck. Usually on the fill cap where you put the oil in, and let me show you that right now as long as I got you out here. Here's my engine compartment. I keep it relatively clean by washing it with soap and water every once in a while. But here's our oil fill cap that we're going to have to take off because this is where we're going to put the oil after. And you can see right on the top they have noted that this engine takes 5W30, which is what I have purchased. You could also look online or in your owner's manual for the actual quantity of oil that your engine takes. In my case, I know from years of experience that this 6-liter gasoline engine in this Chevy 2500 series pickup truck takes 6 quarts of oil to fill it up, so I'm prepared for that. Hey, what you guys doing under there? So here we come. I'm taking my scrap cardboard and I'm going to place it like right under the oil drain plug, and you probably see it right there. I think I got it framed up real nice. We're going to take our piece of scrap wood, which I'm going to use to crawl under so I don't like mess up my clothes, in a suitable position. We're going to pre-stage our drain pan, which is that old kitty with a bucket. We're not going to forget our wrench when we crawl underneath there. As long as we're coming underneath, we're bringing our new oil filter too and putting everything within reach, and I'm bringing my rags. So I have to get a little underneath and sideways here. All right, so this is my position. Here's our oil drain plug. First thing I'm going to want to do is wipe any dirt and debris off of that, just to help with the cross-contamination. Now, from experience, I know as soon as I take this plug out, the oil's going to hit this hot exhaust manifold here. So I like to have my pan like way like coverage, so that, because I know it's going to be all dripping from here and from here. So I want everything to end up in the pan. Now, these oil drain plugs, they're about 1 inch long. So if I loosen it, and again, lefty loosey, righty tighty. So we don't want to mess this up. So left is like counterclockwise if you're looking at it. Okay. Now, I've cracked this nut. It's actually finger loose right now, but the oil's not dripping out yet because it's like 1 inch long. So you got a little bit before the oil starts coming out. So that's when we're going to get our tray ready. Now, another little trick I'm going to tell you, as we start to loosen this oil drain nut, we're going to keep the pressure in like we're putting the plug in, because if you let it get loose, the oil starts coming out and it gets all over your hand and stuff. And what I'm going to do is, in one quick movement, I'm going to loosen this while keeping pressure in. As the oil starts coming out, I'm going to keep loosening it and make sure it's totally loose, And I'm just gonna drop it in the pan. I'll retrieve it later and get my hand out of the way all in one shot and let that oil just come out all at the same time. So let's see if we could do it now that I've said all of that and I'm actually on camera doing it. So here we go. It's about 1/4 inch out. It's about halfway out now. I'm starting to put the pressure in. And you can see there's actually a drop of oil coming now. I'm still unscrewing it, but I'm still pushing it in. All right, I feel it's like ready to come out. And here I go, one shot. It's in the pan. I got some oil on my gloved hand. And I'm letting that drip in the pan too. Here's all that sloppy stuff I was telling you about. It's coming off the manifold and everything. But we haven't spilled a drop yet. Okay? And we're going to retrieve that plug later. When we pour this oil, ooh, it's a windy day. When we pour this oil in our recycling bucket, we'll retrieve that oil drain plug. We'll clean it or wipe it down with a rag, maybe spray with a little solvent, and we'll reinstall it. You don't have to make it really retarded tight, but you want it tight enough that it doesn't leak. So I would say like finger tight and then snug it up like a half a turn. Now at this point, the oil's just trickling out now. I'm gonna go, my oil filter is right here. And I don't use an oil filter wrench when I'm installing my oil filters. So I usually don't need an oil filter wrench to get them off. They're on tight, believe me. Following like the manufacturer's instructions on the oil filter box where they tell you to like make it hand tight and then half a turn, I find is usually good enough. So I don't need a wrench to get it off, but it does take some strength. So let's see if we can loosen this baby up. All right, it's moving. Now this too, as it gets loose, the oil's gonna start spilling out really sloppy like. So you wanna be prepared to make sure your pan is underneath. Okay, here it comes. Okay. Alright, so, alright, here comes the oil from that thing. Now, I'll show it to you when I get it out, but it's like totally dripping with oil. So, we want to loosen it and let it just drip out. For a minute until it kind of gets under control. And then we're also going to take that oil filter out and just let it plop into the bucket here, because it's going to be dripping with oil all over the place. We don't want to like make a big oil stain when we try to drag it out from under the car. So we put it right in the bucket. We'll retrieve it later. And what I do with the used filters is I'll actually put it in these used gloves. I'll hold the filter and take the glove off at the same time and kind of wrap the filter up in 2 latex gloves. And I'll dispose of it that way so it doesn't mess up my garbage can. Alright, so the oil has basically stopped coming out of the oil drain plug. It's just dripping a little. But this oil filter is still a little messy. So here we go. We're unscrewing the oil filter. And again, this thing's probably got like 1 inch of threads of screws on it. So you just keep going. But kind of keep a grip on it because you don't want to lose control. And again, just let it go right in the pan. Okay? Alright, good. Now we're going to let this guy drip out for another minute or two, and then it's basically going to be under control. But as long as we're under here, we're taking our new oil filter. And this glove's really messed up. So taking this glove off inside out, taking our new oil filter out of the box. Now you see it's got a black rubber seal around it. So you may indeed want to put a little oil on your finger and wipe it on that black seal, because it just helps a little bit with making it go on nice and smooth. And it's still got a steady drip coming out, but I'm going to wait like another 15 seconds, and then I'm going to screw this new guy on there as long as I'm under here right now. Take care of everything at once. All right, here we go. Make sure it's on straight. The thread should go on nice and easy. You shouldn't have to force anything. If you're forcing it, it means it's cross-threaded. You got to stop and rethink what's going on and take it from there. All right, so I got it like hand tight. Now I'm going to go another half a turn, hands only, no tools. That way I won't need a tool to get it off. Okay, because it's still dripping and I don't have the plug in it yet. I'm going to leave the rag under to catch the drips. Okay, so here the pan's moving away. The rag's going there. Now we're going to slide this pan, and we're taking the old box out, but we're leaving our wrench in a place where we can reach it, because we're going to be putting that new plug in a second. So I got a funnel and it's clean. And I put it in my recycling drum. Now I'm going to pick up, I've regloved, okay? I'm going to pick up this this oil, you could see all that shiny oil in there. And what I'm going to do is simply pour it in this, and watch in that bottom corner because the oil sometimes likes to travel along and end up on the floor. What I'm going to do is neatly pour it into this funnel, which is going to neatly put it into my recycling pan. Now, I still have in this tray that I'm holding, the oil filter is in here, the old oil filter, and our drain plug. So we don't want to turn this over quite yet. We want to be able to retrieve our drain plug and our oil filter. Is our oil fill plug. Okay, now the end of it here, good car companies, is a magnet. And what that does is it catches any metal shavings that are floating around in the oil as the car's going down the road. So you definitely want to wipe all of this down and get any metal fragments off of there. You also want to wipe down the outside of it because we're going to be handling it. Plus two, if you leave it all oily, it's going to attract dirt as you're driving around and just make things bad for the next time you're under there. Now here is that used oil filter I was telling you about. I'm holding it upside down so that last oil drips out of there. And watch what I do. I take my glove, okay, and I turn it inside out over the oil filter. And then I take the other glove hand and I turn it inside out over the oil filter. Now it's like relatively neat oil filter, okay? And the hands are clean. Clean enough to touch the camera and show you what I'm going to do next. And that is simply walk over to my garbage can here. Okay, now look at this trick. Here is a tomato sauce can in there, all right? So it doesn't get my garbage can all messed up. Boys and girls, so we're back underneath here, and we're going to wipe down where the filler plug goes in, just to make sure there's no grit and stuff there. Here is our nice clean filler plug, and I'm actually going to turn over. Okay, so we want to make sure we don't cross thread anything ever, but especially something like this. So we want to make sure that it's in there straight, and we want to make sure that fingers only, no tools, fingers, you could thread this whole thing in until it's all the way seated without any tools. Then you can be sure it's not cross-threaded. At that point, and that point only, you can put your wrench on it and snug it up. Now you see I got it, it was a quarter turn and it's snugged up, but it's not tight yet. Now we have to tighten it. So like another quarter turn, and that's it. No retarded tight on any of this stuff. Definitely snug, definitely tight, but not like reject mental patient, bonkers banana tight. What I'm gonna do is put a rag, and this is why I like old underwear for this, because they have the hole in it, at least boys' underwear. Girls, you're gonna have to figure this out yourself. But I put it around this filler spout to catch any drips. I always try to be really careful, but I mean after 6 quarts, there's bound to be one that drips a little. So I try to keep something around here. Here's our first quart. You simply unscrew the cap. Now in this truck, I usually have to push this stupid little hose, which I think is like part of the cooling system. I usually have to push it to one side or the other, just so that I can, and I usually have to hold these plastic bottles in this direction so I can get a good angle on them. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to fill it up, trying not to spill any. And I'll catch up with you guys in a second. I'm not going to bore you by showing you 6 quarts going in, but I will show you this one, and that's it. This one's like in the truck, and as you can see, it's not difficult. It's a little windy, so I got the cap in this hand, and there's like a couple of drops left. We don't want to get on the driveway or anywhere else, so as I'm pulling it out, I cap it, all right? And this goes in the recycling bin for plastics. Hey, boys and girls. So that's it. We're done. The oil change is done. You know, and the most important thing for me, it's not so much the money, although I find that it's about half the cost of bringing it in, where they would like charge me like 45 bucks at the service station, keep my truck for half to 3/4 of the day, plus give me like a whole list of stuff that I have to fix, you know, thousands of dollars that really doesn't have to be done. So the big thing for me is the time savings, because you know, here we are 15 minutes later, my truck was never out of service. I use my truck for work. I own my own business. The truck is my business, you know, no downtime. Very important. Plus, I could get like 2 oil changes for the price. I could get the supplies for 2 oil changes. In other words, a case of oil, 12 oils, that's for 2 changes, 2 filters for like a little less than what he charges me to do 1 oil change. Plus, he takes my truck for half to 3/4 or the whole day, you know? And